Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. The morning after I videoed the hatchlings and did the egg cutting, my female spinner has finally laid on day 34 after pre-lay shed. So we've got a clutch of eggs to pull. You guys know the drill. So here she is sitting on the clutch of eggs. I checked her this morning and she hadn't finished, so I left her alone for a couple of hours and sure enough she laid a couple more eggs, but it does look like she's finished now, so let's get her off the eggs and get them set up. So just to stop myself from being bitten here, she is a little grumpy. And just pull her off the eggs and check. See, her body is hollow all the way down, so she is completely empty. Let's get her in a tub of water and wash off the scent of the eggs. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eggs and 1 slug underneath. There is a little slug egg on the bottom there. There we go, my first slug egg in 2 years. That's one side. As you know, how they lay is how they stay, so let's mark them up. Pre-prepared egg boxes straight out of the incubator. And I'm just removing these 2 eggs here because I'm going to use a small egg box and I need to get them all in, so I'll use 2 small egg boxes because my incubator is filling up. I'll just remove that one because it's too high. And there we go guys, that's 7 good eggs. I did have to just adjust them for height in the egg box to make sure they're all clear, so I did take those out. Let me just candle them for veins. The reason I'm going to candle these is after the experience with the previous clutch. So yes, there's veins. Yeah. Yes, there's veins. Yes. Yes. Yes, just this one here. And yes, there are veins down the side. I can see the embryo here down the side, so I'm going to leave that undisturbed. So good veins in them all. So these can go off into the incubator. So I've got the label done for these and we'll get these off into the incubator. So we'll just get a weight on this girl before we put her off in a nice new tub. Let me just double check and make sure she's completely empty. She is. Stick her in the tub and get a weight. And she weighs 1241 grams after laying. So we'll make a note of that and just use that data to monitor her recovery. And she is going to get a completely fresh tub, not the tub that she was in, that's gone off to soak in disinfectant. Completely new water bowl, so no scent of eggs. She's been washed off in the water, so we'll stick her into the tub and get her back in the rack. So that's it guys, that's clutch number 5 for me, the spinner girl to a Super Pastel Leopard Mojave male. So we're hoping for lemon blasts and bumblebees with leopard and Mojave in the mix there. Co-dominant clutch, but nonetheless should be very interesting when they hatch out. So 7 good eggs and 1 slug. As I said, that's my first slug egg in 2 years. I did candle the eggs, they all have veins, but I didn't reorient them, and the reason that I candled them is after the Silky Way we had 2 eggs that had no veins. If you remember, I put those into a separate tub, and from the previous video, sure enough, we did lose those eggs. So still 4 eggs from that clutch, doing okay in the incubator. So that's clutch number 5. My incubator is filling up rapidly. We should have 2 more females due to lay in the next day or so. They're on day 32 since pre-lay shed. This girl laid on day 34, so a little bit late. Okay, so let me show you what I use for my egg boxes. This is just a normal Daiso box. There is a small hole drilled at each side of the egg box, and the egg box is not airtight. The lid is quite loose. I don't have a humidity problem here in the tropics. My incubator is quite humid, even without adding any humidity to anything. So my substrates never dry out, so I don't use press and seal, don't have to. I just put substrate in the bottom of the egg box here. This will take a full clutch of 8 ball python eggs. I do the standard methodology. I use vermiculite mixed 1:1, vermiculite weight and water weight, and then I use these rubber bath mats cut to size to put on top of the vermiculite to keep the eggs off the substrate. And I find these are better than egg crate because they're flexible, they're soft, so when I put it on top of the vermiculite I can actually shape this so that the eggs don't roll around. I can actually move it a little bit, form a little depression in the middle that cradles the eggs, so I don't actually have any problem with eggs rolling in the incubator, and I don't need to use any toothpicks, golf tees or anything like that. I just lay the eggs against each other in the little depression on the mat here, which you can't do with light diffuser, and that works just fine for me. Okay, I'm going to weigh out some substrate here. I use less substrate than most people because again I don't have an issue with my substrate drying out, so I'm going to use about 200 grams. Let me just pour that out. That's the end of that packet. That's 202 grams. It doesn't have to be exact. If you're using the plastic mats, you don't have to be precise. So 200 grams, and you'll see that that's actually not a great deal of substrate in the tub. Let me just even it out a little bit. As I said, I don't need a great deal of substrate. If your particular conditions and your incubator tend to dry out your egg box, you might want to use a little more substrate than I do. So I'm now going to add from my water jug about the same amount of weight of water, so I'm going to add 200 grams, so in total it'll be 400 grams. There we go, that's about 410. It does not have to be exact, and I'll just mix that up a little bit. Just to give you an idea of the consistency, it clumps up, but there's no moisture coming out of it, so that's just about spot on. So that's a 1-to-1 mixture, but as I say, it doesn't have to be exact. Let me just smooth that out a little bit. And a little touch that I like to use is I have a bag of perlite here, and I'm just going to sprinkle completely dry perlite over the top of the vermiculite, just in a thin layer. And the reason that I like to do this is that it's actually cleaner than vermiculite. I just need a very thin layer over the top. Just like that, and I don't need to wet it or anything. I'm just going to use that to separate the vermiculite from the plastic mats that I put in over the top, and it just keeps everything nice and clean. You see, it doesn't stick anywhere near as much as vermiculite does. So when the baby snakes hatch out, they will stay nice and clean as well. So in goes the mat, the first mat. I use a double layer just to make it a little bit thicker, and you can see I can actually form a little hollow in the middle. Put the second mat on the top, and these have all been soaking in disinfectant F10. So this box is now ready to reuse. The eggs go on top of that. The lid goes on, and I put it in the incubator just like that. A very, very simple setup. I don't need golf tees. I don't use a great deal of substrate. Very, very easy. And my substrates don't dry up, so just be aware of that. My incubator, I live in the tropics here, and humidity is about 80%. My incubator doesn't actually need to have any added humidity in it, and the ventilation holes here don't draw water out of the substrate. That will not dry up in the 60 days of incubation. But for your individual setups, you might need to tweak that a little bit and reduce the amount of ventilation and increase the amount of substrate if you're having an issue with your eggs and your substrate drying up, but I never do. So that's it, fairly straightforward. This will go into the incubator now so it can warm up to incubator temperatures and be ready for the next batch of eggs. So that's it for now, guys. That's the update on my clutches. The season's going great guns. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.